Hello, you wonderful, powerful, positive people. I know you're having a wonderful, brilliant, and inspired day. You're standing in the footsteps of greatness on the road to realizing your dreams, whether you realize it or not. First and foremost, I think today we've got to say rest in peace to Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to me, represented something that we need more of in this country currently. I don't care where you stand politically, where you stand ethically. You have to respect and admire and truly love and appreciate what she did for this country and her passion for fighting for what she wanted to see the changes to be. So many of us are caught up in fighting against something. So many people are taking the time and energy to acknowledge what they don't want, talking about it, giving it life, giving it energy. It's like giving life to nightmare after nightmare. And I watch this happen with great frustration in some senses. For me, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was exactly the pinnacle of what we're all talking about, we're striving for. She's someone that saw a problem. She's someone that was the victim of the exact problem that she saw. She was unable to grow her career, her life, the way that she wanted, exactly how she wanted. As someone who's experienced very similar things in my own life, I can tell you there's one commonality between people that have that trait and complain and frustrate and people that have that trait and get to where they're going. It's the ability to look at all of the problems, all of the challenges, see what the problem is. Don't dwell in it and allow it to stop your actions, but to inspire your actions. Allow the problems that you see and identify to inspire your actions to perform and be part of the greatness and the change that you want to see. Too often we get stuck looking at the problem and stopping there and posting about it and blogging about it and talking about it relentlessly. The reality is, we're not here to acknowledge and look at and stare at the problem and just hold up signs saying there's a big problem, whoa. No. We're here to acknowledge the greatness that is inside of each of us, to take the piece of greatness that's inside of us and share it with the world. I can't help but think the greatness that Ruth Bader Ginsburg left on this world was in one case, one moment by moment. There are many times, I'm sure, she faced challenges, just like we're all facing. There are many times she faced overwhelming circumstances that were, at the time, just unheard of that she had to overcome. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's ever going to be easy. What I am saying, though, is she didn't waste her time fighting against the opposition that was in her way. She studied the opposition. She looked at how the opposition moved, thought, and worked, and figured out how to become successful within the scope of what the opposition created. She was the change that she wanted to see. To her dying breath, to her dying day, she was the change that she wanted to see. So as we're posting and blogging and talking and arguing about what it is the problems are that we're seeing, and we're only focused on what we dislike about our opponents, I can tell you, if you only focus on what you dislike about your opponent, you'll never be focused on the victory at hand. You'll never be focused on the opportunity that exists within the battle that you're facing right now. If you're stuck looking at the battle and angry at the battle, you'll never get to the victory. Allow me to share a very personal story, something that teaches me this very concept every single day of my life. When I was younger, I was a football player. Part of what I did was play a little recklessly. I was a little crazy. I loved getting in there, being in the mud, wrestling, fighting, and just being completely free to be who I wanted to be. But I always had one goal. My goal was the victory. My goal was tackling the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, the running back, putting pressure on the offense to stop their forward progress. There was one game where I learned more about myself in the first half of a football game than I learned any other point in time in life. I learned in the first half of a football game, you cannot fight your opponent, but you have to fight for the victory. You cannot fight your opponent, what they're doing, underhanded, sly, off-kilter techniques that they're putting in front of you. In this game was the first time I faced an opponent that didn't want to play football, they wanted to fight. They grabbed my face mask and punched me. They turned my helmet sideways, kicked me, dropped elbows on me, tripped me, and kicked me when I was down multiple times. I completely lost my mind. I no longer fought for the victory, but instead fought against this person. Well, I went into halftime A little bit of a lunatic, I might add. Someone that was completely out of control, focused on the anger my opponent instilled in me. I was too focused on what my opponent was doing to forget that I could be great, to forget that I could be the best person possible. I could dominate that day and hit them in a place that never existed before I left that time. Let me tell you something. I came out that second half. I may have given an uppercut or two. I'm not going to lie. Definitely not part of what football is, and I'm not going to acknowledge you do that. But I can tell you that second half of football was single-handedly my greatest second half of football I may have ever played. I remember watching the tape and filming them the next day and chasing down a running back 20 yards downfield that was easily 100 pounds lighter than me. I was the first person on tackle 20 yards downfield. Why? Because my focus on my opponent and the anger I felt in my heart towards my opponent shifted to the victory. It shifted to my goal. It shifted to tackling and performing my job, my duty, better than it's ever been done before. And from that moment on, I realized I need to stop fighting my opponent, but start fighting for what's in my heart to start working on. I need to stop fighting against the challenges that present themselves and start looking at those challenges, ways to get around them to get to the goal. Once I stopped focusing on the underhanded techniques that person was doing to me, they were no longer able to touch me. When I realized that my greatness inside wasn't in staring at my opponent, but it was in staring at the goal that my greatness inspired, I started creating a whole new level of success in that game I've never experienced. It carried forward into every aspect of my life. I was able to reach levels in the professional career that most people would say are impossible unless you have a master's degree, college degree. I had none of that. I was able to lead an IT department. I was able to do things that I was told I would never get to because I didn't have the degree, the piece of paper that other people said they had. Now, the difference between other people and me is I believed, regardless of what other people thought, regardless of what the world dictated was right or wrong around me, regardless of what obstacles I faced by way of color, and I did face some, I still reached the goal that I had. While the goal was cut short from getting to that next level, unwillingly, unwantingly, I still am here to remember and remind you. When I think of Justice Ginsburg, when I think of the obstacles she faced, I look at my obstacles and I cringe at the fact that I think they're difficult. I cringe at the fact that the greatness Justice Ginsburg was able to achieve in her lifetime, by my age, I'm just touching the opportunity to find that greatness. I encourage you, remember what's inside. Stop looking at your opponents. Stop looking at the things that are making you frustrated, angry, and upset. They're just obstacles in the way to the goal that's on the other side. Go chase the running back down. Go make the tackle 20 yards downfield. Do something no one is expecting because that's who you are. Justice Ginsburg came out of nowhere. She's small, soft-spoken, quiet, but if you listen to the wisdom that poured from her soul, you can't help but be inspired to fight for what you believe instead of fighting against what you dislike. So I encourage you, learn the difference today, in this moment. Study the greatness that was Justice Ginsburg. Study the greatness of everyone you respect and start understanding what does it take to go from here to there. What does it take to stop looking at your opponent that's in the middle and looking at the destination that's on the other side. And then also remember that destination is just temporary. It's just a temporary spot to go look for the next destination. So don't get caught up in the here, now, the problems, the challenges, the people that are opposing you. They don't matter because if you can unite with a greater good cause, you can create change that will impact generations to come. You're not here to make tomorrow better. You're here to make forever better. Keep walking in the footsteps of greatness. Keep standing on the road to realizing your dreams. You're already getting closer than you can possibly imagine. All you need to do is focus on the dreams. Focus on the goals. Focus on what's inside. You can be just as great as you would like to be. You can allow the inspiration that Justice Ginsburg, that she fought for her entire life, to be carried on within you. We each have the opportunity to carry on everyone's will and become the next torch holder for greatness. Go find your greatness, go stand in those footsteps, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, get notified, make sure you like this video. I want your success to be your priority. Stop looking at your opponent, stop looking at your opposition, and start looking at your success. Have a wonderful, inspired, and brilliant day.